They say marketing is a madman's game. So now we turn it over to the Marketing Madman with Nick Constantino and Trip Job on Extra 106.3 FM.
Happy Saturday. Welcome to the Marketing Madmen. Trip Job and Nick Constantino here live from the Battery. Season 4.
Season 4. I can't believe they let us go this long. It's fascinating.
There are some surprises out there, I guess.
Yeah, that we're still doing it as number one.
Yeah, well, we've got a great guest today, and I think we're going to really learn a lot about both marketing career, but just the changes. Jeff Jenkins, who is CMO at Carter's, has seen in marketing during his career. So welcome, Jeff.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
It's great to have you. It's funny. We've talked about the demise of the CMO now for so long and so many different episodes. We actually get our hands on one.
Don't fire me too fast.
What's going to happen? So let's start. Let's go back to the beginning. First of all, how did you get into marketing? And then we could go through some of these stops along the way because there are some ones that blatantly stand out to me. But how did you get into marketing? Talk about the collegiate career. What made you want to get into this wild world?
Yeah, so I got into marketing because of three simple words. Okay. You're never going to guess them. Ace of base.
Okay.
So if you remember,
so
all
you
that
saw
she
the
wants.
sign.
I saw the sign. All that she wants.
Oh, there's the zinger. I'm done. I'm going to go.
There you go. There you go. No,
I actually saw the vinyl over the weekend. My son and I were at one of the vinyl record stores, and it was sitting there. Yeah.
Very cool. So I played tennis as a kid. I was playing in Europe as probably a 16-year-old. That song was just a banger in the clubs in Europe. I found it. I bought it on a CD single, if you remember when those were a thing. Brought it home to my friends and was like, hey, this is going to be the next biggest hit. They were all like, whatever, dude, not really. And then suddenly they blew up. And I thought, of course, it's all because of me, right? Not because of Clive Davis signing them to a record deal and promoting them, but I thought it was me, word of mouth. That was my first interaction of like marketing, like feeling like there's a reason why things become popular and I could have the foresight to see what the consumer wanted and how it translated. Fast forward to college, I started as a biochemistry major, realized while I was good at it and got good grades, it was the most boring thing on the planet. And the fact that I was going to do 7 to 10 years of school to become a doctor and not really talk to people, which is my thing, I was like, done here. So I went and became a theater major, which is really useful in the real world.
Yeah. You can't get more opposite than a doctor than a theater major.
Biochemist or a
imagine a play on biochemistry. Ooh, we really want to banger there.
So I became a theater major, and then lo and behold, I got cast in a play that was going to Broadway right out of college and did it for 2 years. But in the middle of that, I was living in New York City.
What play? Hold on a second. Let's stop for a second.
I know.
Tell us the play. Tell us your role. Tell us how it did on Broadway.
It was called Big Love, not associated with the Showtime show. It was a retelling of an original play by Aeschylus, which was the first known play they ever did, but it was done in like a MTV. The floor was a trampoline. It was wild.
Cool.
And it was headed to Broadway. We did it in Chicago and New York, San Francisco. And while I was doing it in New York, I got a day job. Like literally temping at MTV. The guy I ended up tipping for was the original creative director of MTV.
Wow.
Who invented the phrase, I want my MTV.
Wow.
And he could not have been nicer to me and got me in. I was like, I don't know about this acting thing, but this marketing thing of being able to create things. I was doing the Subway Series, New York Yankees Mets was while I was there.
And that was one of the first years. That was one of the first years that you did it.
And,
I know because I was at Yankee Stadium painted in black and in orange face paint, which you do not want to do. If I recommend don't go to do that, but
so
I did that.
I was there for the Subway Series, and I was doing man on the street interviews and doing marketing for what was then Spike, was to become Spike TV. So I helped transition TNN to Spike TV, and it was just like that was my turn on moment of like I've got to figure this marketing thing out, and that led to the rest of my career.
Yeah. So you're in the 2000s, early 2000s.
So 2000, 2001. I left New York when 9/11 happened. And moved to LA, and that's when I I'd also done while I was a biochemistry major, I interned at NASA during college. And then when I wanted to leave New York, I called my old boss and said, hey, any chance you have a job opening? And so I went from working from MTV to going to work for NASA.
Okay, that's a good place to stop. Let's talk a little bit more about that because that's the one. So NASA was, we had the time there in the 60s and 70s where this was it, right? We were going to the moon, the world, this is the space race versus Russia. I mean, NASA were heroes. Now we're at the point where we have, what did Trump call it? The Space Command team that we have our own?
Space Force.
Space Force. So
how do you message
something like NASA? What is the goal? What are you trying to get out? Are you trying to get to the masses? Are you trying to get to engineers to work for NASA? Talk a little bit about that, because I feel like when you talk marketing, that's not the first thing that comes up in people's minds.
Totally true. So I worked in the media relations department, and our whole goal was to help people understand the point of NASA. I got really lucky in the fact that two things happened when I was there. One was the Mars rovers launched, so Spirit and Opportunity. So that was like a big deal for NASA. To your point from the space race, it was really the first thing in a long time that was like captivating the public's attention. We were sending these rovers to drive around on Mars. So I got to work on the Mars rovers under a woman named Veronica McGregor, who didn't think like a government employee. She'd come from CNN. She was like, how do we like do more live news feeds, new things, media? And it was really about two things. So it was about like helping the media tell the story of NASA. And then secondarily, because I worked at the NASA Jet Propulsion Lab, which is the Center for Unmanned Robotic Exploration of Space, which is in Pasadena, California, it was the closest NASA facility to Hollywood. So we got lots of people coming over when they wanted to do TV treatments, pilots, movies, and I would take them around and help them interact and work with real scientists to understand the science.
Yeah, JPL is really cool. So when I was in LA in the early 90s selling copy paper, that was when we had the contracting. Talking about having to get
there you go.
certain clearance just to get in to meet purchasing.
Oh, no, I had I don't know what it was, some secret or top secret clearance to work there. As does every employee, because you go through the gates and the security. Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
So we're going to jump around a little bit. Okay,
all right.
So I pre-read a lot of these things. So let's fast forward to NASA to you worked for KFC in Australia.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating because a couple of things. One, KFC, it was Kentucky Fried Chicken. This is rebrand time to KFC, but it's a different world in a different country. And I only know, so when I spent some time in Prague, and it was huge in Prague on every street, and you just do not associate the Czech with fried chicken, but it is on every street corner.
China, KFC got big.
So talk about what got you to Australia, what it was like there, what you learned from working and doing marketing there and how it's different, and talk a little bit about how a brand like KFC made its way over there.
Yeah, no, KFC is the powerhouse you don't think of. It had, and this is probably in 2011 or 12 was when I went over. And KFC at that point in the U.S. was a little flat in the U.S., but it was growing like wildfire around the world, and it was challenging everyone in the world. It was kind of a thing. So I work for Yum Brands, Taco Bell, and every so often they do a rotation and say, hey, we want to send someone internationally. My wife was 8 months pregnant, and they came and said, hey, do you want to go to Singapore? And I'm like, I don't think my wife's going to move to Singapore at 8 months pregnant. Fast forward a month and a half, she had a baby. It'd been 2 weeks, the baby was 2 weeks old. The CEO called me and said, who happened to be Australian, goes, hey, how about going to Australia? And I'm like, we are in for Australia. He goes, how about in 4 weeks? And so we moved with a 9-week-old, 8-week-old to Australia. We lived in Manly on the beach in Sydney. It was phenomenal, like the best experience of my life. And I went to work for KFC. My first 2 weeks I spent in the back of a KFC hand breading chicken and learning how to make chicken, because the best thing, right? Someone once told me that there's no replacement for a good foot reconnaissance. So being on the front lines is the unlock for every business, because you're close to the customer. So they at Yum, they really embraced that. So you have to go work in the kitchen. So I was working making chicken, and then it became like a war. So they were in the middle of the chicken wars in Australia. It's like a real thing. It was a real time. Like McDonald's didn't have like a chicken sandwich, and they were trying to get into it. So we were battling out. It's called Macca's over there, McDonald's. So Macca's versus KFC. And so it was all about learning. You have to learn. It's like a whole new sense of humor, right? The Australian sense of humor is very different than the American.
We just recorded with the Australian guy, which makes it that much funnier.
Yeah, right? And it's like they have a total different sense of humor.
Words mean different things. Some, especially dirty words here, are used a little bit more freely over there, which is amazing, because we're like the dirtiest people on earth. And some words they say, I'm like,
totally. And by the way, I'm not a guy who ever like cursed in the office. I went to Australia and I was like cursing like a sailor. It's just amazing. So it was a fun thing. It was really a big battle time between the two brands for like dominance of the market.
Had the Asian, like Joe Beli, had they made their way over there? Because
no.
You're talking to the Philippines.
No, this is not
now
fully
that
there
those
yet.
start coming, those are going to take over pretty quickly.
Those
just from what I hear,
right? I mean, it's the thing in the U.S. It's like McDonald's sells more chicken than hamburgers. Like you don't think about that, but it's like the dominant protein in the world. And so it was a fun time, and you just learning. I ran the cricket sponsorship. Why they have an American guy running the cricket sponsorship who had no idea how to play cricket. My son is now obsessed with Australian rules football, watches it on the weekends here in the U.S. So it stuck with us, and it was a fun time to sort of be a marketer in a different country and like learning how to.
How long were you there?
I was there for 1 day less than a year for tax reasons, if anyone ever asks.
If anyone ever asks.
Yes.
364 days. That's a leap year, 365. So I have a very important KFC question. So I don't know how high up you got up, but have you ever seen the secret recipe?
I have
of
never
herbs
seen
and spices.
the 11 herbs and spices.
The herbs, you've not seen it. Okay.
No, I've never seen it, but it's one of those things. Two different suppliers make the stuff and they mix it together so that no one ever knows it.
There's like a secret safe somewhere behind a picture frame of Colonel Sanders that you have to open up with a special code with both eyes to go in.
I have a feeling though that he might have tried on the that wig at some point with his theater background. So
the wig, the hat, the white suit, it's all there.
That's it.
Okay.
All right. So let's talk Taco Bell.
Yeah.
So Yum Brands, same company, same parent company, right?
Same parent company.
So we're at Taco Bell. So one of the things I find fascinating about Taco Bell is they are just relentless marketers. I mean, they are taking the same set of ingredients and making something new almost monthly. I have not made it to the Cheez-Its yet. I am upset with myself that I have not. But they seem to be just repackaging things, which is what marketing is, right?
It is the rice, bean, and cheese 3-card Monty.
Is it
That is
amazing?
exactly what the brand is.
So talk a little bit about one. I know that while you were there, they really were getting into the apps, and apps have become now synonymous. If you're a restaurant and you want to succeed, you need the data, you need the loyalty, you need apps. Talk about your time at KFC. We've got a minute and a half. Let's go with that, and we'll segue that into the next segment.
Perfect. Yeah. So if you think about Taco Bell's customer, it is a customer that as soon as you get your driver's license, you go there because mom and dad don't want to take you there. They don't want to eat there. They want to have a burger. So for us, it was about getting that 16-year-old digital consumer.
I'm sure that's the only reason a 16-year-old's going there. Especially at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Then they have less than $10 in their wallet.
But you know what? To be fair, they know it.
They know
Talk about when they embraced it, when their Cantina Chicken came out and they said, hey, we're not just for late night, they leaned into that, which is something most people are afraid of.
100%. But to your point, they know their audience better than anyone, right? You think about something like Doritos Locos Tacos, that is the stoner's dream food. Let's be honest.
I invented it 10 years ago. I mean, every person in college was like, they thought of this, like, how have we not combined these things yet?
Exactly. So then for the app and the digital side, it was simply, hey, every single customer we looked at had a phone in their hand, and they were at that point where they were starting to do everything through it. And it was, how do we acquire customers? And the single greatest thing was Starbucks had done like the digital paying, but like no one goes to Taco Bell often enough to really load like $25 onto your Taco Bell card like you would Starbucks. You go every day at Starbucks. So it was like, let's get into the ordering business. So we built an app that was literally all about ordering your food, and then when you drove within, let's call it a mile radius, the Bluetooth went off, the GPS went off, and you started cooking it in the kitchen by the time you got there.
And the bell. The bell went off. Ding! So with the bell, we are heading to a break, but we'll pick that up when we come back. And we are the Marketing Madmen on Extra 106.3.